Welcome to TGIF.
Here we are, episode 5 of Esther. We've had a lot of story happen and we have a little bit more to go. And I got to thinking with all that Esther accomplished, and like I said, we're going to still be talking about that. I'm someone who likes to accomplish things. Like, I want to do the next right thing, the next best thing. And sometimes I'm not exactly sure how to determine if I did it well. I mean, how good is good enough? I think it brings us to the question of how do we define
Takes us to the word of the day, which is success.
a successful event means what? A successful choice? A successful career? I mean, do we or the world put the definition of what that means? I mean, I really think we have to be careful with the word success because it can be so worldly. But God wants us to have success, so that's okay. But it's what we do with it all.
And we have seen Esther go through some real challenging moments and challenging times. And so we are joining the book of Esther at chapter 3, how about chapter 7?
I think so.
Chapter 7, verse 3. Queen Esther replied, "If I have found favor with the king, and if it pleases the king to grant requests, I ask that my life and the lives of my people will be spared." A lot of backstory. We've been reading along. We see now the banquets. Esther put together these banquets, and her and Mordecai are really working to understand how they can save the people of Israel. And that's a big compliment. That's a big task, to say the least. But what's so interesting to me about this one is that Esther goes on to say that if she and her people had just been sold into slavery, she would not have bothered the king. Isn't that fascinating? That slavery, the people of Israel have been enslaved over here and over there. And so here we find us this place that Esther is in, that, if you were just going to put me and my people in slavery, that I wouldn't even come and bothered you, king. But rather, the big threat to us right now is that me and my people are going to be killed or exterminated completely off the face of the planet. So that is a big mind shift in trying to understand what's going on with Esther and how she's having to live in this moment. And so when he starts talking about success, how do you define this? How would this look successful? But there's a lot else going on here too, because you have to remember that Esther, probably the king would have spared her, even if the decree went out to kill all of the Jews. He probably would have somehow decreed that she would be saved as his queen. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know that part of it. But she has to really go out in a selfless act here and put herself before the king with the chance of being killed because she did want this audience with the king. And so I think it's really complicated because, as Christians, success is, even TGIF. So if one person watches TGIF, is that successful? If we have 1.2 million people following TGIF, does that make it successful? So it's hard to say, because if it changes one person's life or it changes a thought, then it matters. And so success is being a blessing to someone else, no matter the cost. And I think that's what we're trying to define it here. She put her life on the line, no matter the cost. She stepped out of her comfort zone, where she might have even been saved, but she put it all on the line. It cost her everything to do this. And don't forget that when she's making this request, Haman is standing right there. He is standing right there in this gate. Talk about pressure. It's like, I would think you would be really nervous in this moment, because how about, having the evil right there in the room with you, and you're putting it all out there. Can't imagine.
And to think about when she made the comment, if we would just go back to slavery. I think that's just a perfect example of us today. And sometimes we want to go back to what we know. Like, was slavery great? But they were familiar with it. We knew that it's part of it's been a story in the Old Testament for so long, but she was willing to take a risk and to step out.
Because now the stakes are much higher, right?
Exactly.
It's death.
To save her people. And I wonder if she was as much worried about saving herself as her people. Just what we glean from her and the sacrifices that she made. I mean, going all the way back to her childhood and everything that happened there. She just seemed to always be someone who cared about others, that put others first. So when we tie the word success to any of that, putting others before yourself, is that a level of success that we live in a world that we might not truly understand?
Because success in the world is always about achieving the pinnacle and being the top person, the top person. And really what Christ did on the cross is he flipped it and said, be the least. Be the least among them. And it's like, that's a hard concept for us to understand. It's like really sacrificing every mountain you climb to get ahead in this world, rather saying, no, I'm going to help the next person that's below me and help them get ahead. I'm going to help somebody when we go on mission trips, right? It's about helping them to have a home and taking a little less home here, or having a little smaller home here, or having a smaller car, or a car that's not all the bells and whistles. It's like, how can we do with a little less in order to help others have a little bit more? So it's that balancing act, which is so hard.
I think back to all the years we've been part of running youth, particularly at RCP. We would always we'd always try to teach the kids to cheer everybody on. We're cheering everyone on. We even went so far to have an encourager award. But the idea is, okay, if you didn't win, but you still cheered on the other person, you really won. It's a win-win when you're making a difference in someone else's life. I even so much as when there's a raffle or a drawing. We've had drawings for all kinds of things, church and all the places. When someone wins, you hear the when you didn't win. And I've always said, because that's your attitude, that's why you're not winning. I've always said that just as a joke, but that sense of really wanting others to have a success, even if it cost you the promotion and they got the promotion, it's hard.
It's very hard. And asking for nothing in return.
Right.
I mean, usually I'll help you, but I need this or I need that. I'll help you as long as I get something out of it. And this is like, no, that selfless act of I'm helping you because I love you and I care for you. And as a Christian, that's what I'm called to do. And so I think that's the challenge every day. Are we living these lives that are authentic enough that show who we are as Christians, rather than we kind of hide. We put all these fake facades in front of us, and rather than saying, no, being a Christian is hard. It's about sacrifice. And can you even imagine if you were willing to give up your life for another group of people in this world, that their life is in danger of being exterminated? I mean, that's when we send missionaries out. I just think about that all the time, how important it is to pray for them and keep them in our prayers, because their life is on the line. When they go into some of these places, I'm just like, wow, who does that? And it's just amazing that how God uses them in that sacrificial way to do amazing things.
And how we see things involves a lens. And I think about when we determine what's successful or not successful, we need to pause, breathe, count to 10, or do something like that, and say, okay, before I make the determination, I need to make sure I have the right lens on. When we're part of a church and church ebb and flows, attendance, people come and go, that is just the life of any church. It's really easy to get discouraged when you're looking at a lens of numbers. Yeah. But then when you have a new family who brings a new family, when you put that lens on and you see God working in that way, it helps you process through things. So I think in life, we've got to have the right lens on the way we look at things and determining what's success, what is showing God at work.
And that's having people around you too to help you with that,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously Esther had Mordecai there with her to help her and advise her, and we need that too. I mean, we always need to have those around us that are able to say, "Oh, are you sure about that?"
And that's really a good picture, because we know Mordecai was there, guiding, helping. We also know Haman was there, the evil. It's almost like you had good versus evil, and Esther's smack in the middle, having to make some decisions. And that's where we are today, friends. We always have the choice of good and a choice of evil, and both are lurking right there. And we know the enemy really wants to slip in through that. So to have the right set of lens on is important. And another thought had to just go to that, because we always hear the Old Testament, it's so old, it's so old. We like the New Testament. And we've said forever, you have to read the Old Testament, but you have to understand the context of what was taking place. That's almost like putting on that set of lens. So you're going to have a set of lens for the Old Testament to really be able to glean and to find the value from that. So I'm all over these lenses. Maybe it's because we wear glasses too, and I do need to update my prescription. So, question after we got off that little tangent. Does your Christian life reflect selfless acts of success no matter the cost?
Ooh, wow.
Selfless, selfish. The words are so close, just proving how hard it really is.
Cost or free?
Exactly.
There's a cost.
So as you go through this week, think about the things you do, the things you say, the places you go, what you offer, where you give, how you support, how you encourage, and ask yourself, putting on the right set of lens first, was that selfless or selfish? Did it cost me anything to do what God's put me in a place to do?
Cost Jesus everything.
Exactly. Make it a great week, and we're going to wrap up Esther. So read on to chapters 8 through 10, and we'll wrap it up next week. Have a great day. Bye.